All personnel not active in terminal count will monitor OIS channel 217. All personnel bear in mind that critical post-launch operations will be in progress after a successful launch, so keep firing room activities and noise to a minimum. All personnel requested to remain in their seats and quiet through MECO and leave the firing room quietly. If we have a loud squeal in OIS, or if we lose OIS before T-minus 31 seconds, we will hold at the next convenient hold point. After T-minus 5 minutes, any hold, manual or GLS, should be accompanied by a description of the problem and a recommendation. Count clock will continue until T-minus 31 seconds unless the recommendation to hold at the next milestone is necessary. Problem discussion and resolution will continue in parallel with the count proceeding down to T-minus 31 seconds. Are there any questions? That concludes the briefing.
CGNC OTC.
CGNC.
Give me a GMT when you completed IMU pre-flight.
It just came out a second ago, 1028.
Copy that, that's step 885.
NTD copy. Houston flight, verify ready to resume the count at T-minus 20 minutes.
This is Houston flight, I'll verify.
That's 886.
And GNC, you can switch DEU2 to C12.
Countdown clock will pick up in 2 minutes, 10 seconds.
All stations after transitioning to Ops 101, discontinue all LDB DMU reads for reminder of the count.
CMQC entity.
CMQC, go ahead.
Okay, is line item 199 still open?
That's affirmative, sir, still open.
I'm moving that to step 16-1041.
16-1041, coming.
CMQC is line item 197 still open?
Affirmative.
I'm moving that to step 16-1041.
16-1041, copy.
All constraints are now at 16-1041.
Affirmative.
This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 20 minutes and holding. Less than one minute away now from resuming the count. The closeout crew has been cleared from the launch pad. Cabin vent valves have been closed for flight. It's getting a little bit lighter here at Kennedy Space Center. Looking for liftoff in about 30 minutes. As we come out of our hold, Discovery's onboard computers will transition into the terminal countdown configuration, and we will dump the computer memory of one of the 4 primary computers to make sure the Ops 1 flight program has been stored properly. Standing by now for the resumption of our countdown. 3, 2, 1. T-minus 20 minutes and counting.
And STP OTC. Go. Perform fuel cell purge per sequence 47.
Copy that, and work.
A purge of the 3 fuel cells is now underway.
Look to CDPS. Go ahead. Pass off transition complete. DPS ready for BFS transition to Ops 101.
Copy that. CDR OTC.
OTC, CDR, go ahead.
Take BFS to Ops 1 per your checklist.
CDR, roger, and work.
T-minus 19 minutes and counting. Data processing system engineer has confirmed the onboard computers are in the process of making the transition to the terminal countdown configuration.
Go ahead, SRO.
Yes, sir, 0953.
The primary ascent software is now in Ops 1, and Commander Coates is configuring the backup flight system computer for flight.
CBHY, go ahead.
NTD CVFS.
Go ahead, CVFF.
Step 924 is complete. And we're ready for BFS uplink.
Houston flight entity.
This flight go.
926. Perform the VFS pre-flight uplink loading.
Wilco, and the RTLS runway will be 33.
Copy. 33.
T-minus 17 minutes, 30 seconds, and counting.
PLT OTC.
OTC, PLT, go ahead.
Configure pass and BFS horizontal situation displays per your checklist.
Roger, that's in work.
Stage console entity.
Pilot Hammond is in the process of configuring cockpit displays for launch.
Sir, we'll let you know as soon as they get there.
During the hold at T-minus 9 minutes, we will get a status report from the JSC commentator in the mission control room at the Johnson Space Center in Houston.
OTC ISL.
Go ahead.
I'd like Houston flight to come to channel 145.
You have a problem, Nashville?
We have a Ops 2 recorder is activated at this time. I'd like to talk to flight and find out why.
That's channel 145.
That's affirmative.
Flight, you have 145.
That's firm. We'll check it.
And PLT OTC.
T-minus 15 minutes, 30 seconds, and counting.
Yes, sir. This time I give you 954 and 955.
Copy.
NTD flight.
Go ahead, flight.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and send a command to try to stop that recorder. We don't understand why it started up either. Let us see if we can stop it, though.
Okay, I understand. And SB, you copy that?
SB, copy.
STM, you terminate video tracking and recording of the closeout crew. That's 956.
I copy.
And SRO NTD 957 KSC area is clear for launch.
Copy, thank you.
And
OTC, PLT. OTC, COOS.
go ahead, double S.
Yes, sir. Step 941 is complete. RCS cross feed valves configured for flight.
Copy that.
OTC, PLT, horizontal situation configs complete.
I copy that. And go ahead and configure home interconnect per your checklist.
T-minus 14 minutes, 30 seconds, and counting. Pilot Hammond reports the cockpit displays are ready for launch.
And OIS.
Copy.
OTC, PLT, home interconnect config complete. Copy that. And PLT, perform MPS helium reconfiguration.
PLT, roger, in work.
T-minus 13 minutes 50 seconds. Configuration of cross-feed valves between the orbital maneuvering system and reaction control system propellant tanks has been performed.
For left and right, fuel and oxidizer. ULP, roger. Forward oxidizer, 905. Fuel, 905. Left oxidizer, 909er. Fuel, 102. Right oxidizer, 100. Fuel, 102. Copy that. Thank you.
Pilot Hammond is reporting the quantities of the propellant in the reaction control system tanks.
Fuel cell loaded yet?
Copy that. EPD OTC.
EPD copy.
Houston flight
And ECL OTC.
ECL.
They're adjusting fuel cell loads at this time on 151.
ECL copy.
Houston flight entity.
Entity LPS.
Go ahead, up here.
Sir, a C12 DPS console got a MMD error. It was successful in the retry, and we recommend to continue.
SD, you can.
Negative, say again, please.
Say again, up here.
DPS is C12 console got a MMD error. It was successful in the retry. We recommend continue.
Okay, SD copy.
Sure, understand. Houston flight entity.
This flight,
Are we complete on our BFF pre-flight uplink load?
that's affirmed.
And CVFF cut?
I copy.
And entity flight.
Stand by flight. Go ahead, flight. Go ahead, flight. This is entity.
Entity is TM.
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I can give you 0975.
Copy. Countdown clock will hold at T-minus 9 minutes and 2 minutes 30 seconds.
T-minus 11 minutes 20 seconds.
Entity LPS. Verify 964.
The countdown clock will be holding at the T-minus 9 minute point. This is the final hold that is planned in our countdown today.
Step 9.
It will last for 10 minutes. The fuel cell purge and adjust is reported complete, and all non-essential personnel are being cleared from the launch danger area at this time. Flight controller is talking about a recorder that on board the orbiter that has started, and they don't understand exactly why it did start at this point. It does not appear to be a problem at this point for our launch today. T-minus 10 minutes, 30 seconds.
SPE, go ahead.
Yeah, Charlie, we still got the constraint.
Okay, we're working them off. OTC, HQC.
Go.
Ready, sir. I got 197 close verified.
Copy.
Attention 212. Discontinue all non-mandatory LDB traffic for the remainder of the count. Step 976.
T-minus 10 minutes and counting. Now less than 1 minute away from our final built-in hold. Again, we will be hearing from our JSC commentator in Mission Control Houston for an update of the flight directors in Mission Control. T-minus 9 minutes, 30 seconds and counting.
ETD, SPE.
Go ahead, SP.
Yeah, I need ISL 161, please.
ISL. ISL NTD. ISL NTD.
This ISL, go ahead.
161 with it.
Just 10 seconds away now from entering our hold at T-minus 9 minutes. T-minus 9 minutes and holding. And we will now hear from the JSC Mission Control commentator.
Yes, we're looking at why our ops recorder started running. We cannot find any reason here, either in any of the commands we sent or anything in the DPS that might have had that happen.
QC, go ahead.
CMQC, you're on Standard Ground 1. Go ahead, Mike.
We suspect there might be a problem with the recorder because it jumped to track 7 and started recording. We normally don't send any commands like that anyway, and the commands we sent were not of the type of commands that would have made that happen. So right now, I would suspect, if anything, we've got a possible ops recorder problem, and we're still go with one of two. And we're trying to confirm if there's anything else. You might have your DPS folks check anything else on the particular cardinal channel of the MDM for.
Okay, and you're working with them on that stuff, huh?
And that's ops recorder 2, the MDM, payload MDM cardinal channel that that guy's on. See if there's anything else on there we might verify, but right now we believe it's probably some kind of recorder funny.
Okay, I understand.
K and D.
This is Mission Control Houston at T-minus 9 minutes and holding. Following a thorough review of landing site weather and weather at the launch site, Ascent Flight Director Lee Briscoe and the flight control team are go for launch based on weather conditions.
And we show first tape motion.
Current primary transoceanic abort landing site is designated to be Ben Guerir in Morocco. The other two transoceanic abort landing site possibilities, Morón and Zaragoza, Spain, are currently considered not available due to cloud decks at low levels and the potential for rain in those areas. However, conditions at and around the Morón Air Base are steadily improving.
Flight, this is DPS.
Flight controllers here in Houston have been analyzing the inadvertent startup of the OPS-2 recorder. That's a data recorder used to record orbiter and payload support systems data during the orbit phase. It's not clearly understood why that operations recorder activated, but it has been stopped, and flight controllers will be keeping an eye on that. Team here will continue to monitor orbiter systems throughout the remainder of the count, standing ready to take control of the flight at solid rocket booster ignition. This is Mission Control Houston.
NTD SSB, go ahead.
Okay, you copy DPS's report?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I copied it.
Okay, flight, is there anything else we need to do?
Back at Kennedy Space Center,
Is there anything else we need to do?
there will be a poll here at Kennedy Space Center and the launch team during this hold to verify all the systems engineers and test conductors are ready to resume the count at the T-minus 9 minute and counting point. There are several major milestones between now and launch.
And this launch director, NTD, I would concur with that. Why don't you go to hold pending here, and we'll let the team work this for a little while, make sure we can feel good about the computer configuration before we pick up. All right. GLS, you cancel pending.
I copied that from work.
Yes, NTD on there to ground 1. We're going to extend the T-minus 9 minute hold to work on the OP2 recorder problem. We'll be in this hold until further notice. All systems should remain in the T-minus 9 minute configuration and be ready to pick up the count momentarily.
This is Shuttle Launch Control. It appears we will be holding here at this T-minus 9 minute point, and we'll be further analyzing why the ops recorder did activate when it shouldn't have, and we'll bring you more information as it becomes available. This is a point in the count where it is convenient to hold, and we can work problems if necessary. Both flight controllers and test conductors here in the Launch Control Center are talking this issue and trying to determine the reason for it.
Okay, CMQC.
Go.
Line item 200 gone.
Copy.
Mission Management Team Chairman Brewster Shaw is polling members of the team here in the Launch Control Center to make sure they are ready to come out of the count at T-minus 9 minutes, pending the resolution of the operation recorder issue. This recorder does record data in flight from the orbiter end payload, and this information is played back after the flight. It appears we may be doing a test to turn the recorder on and off in the next few minutes to test the recorder, see if it will respond to those commands. Still discussion going on about the recorder, and we remain in the hold here for an extended time at the T-minus 9 minute mark.
Go ahead. Line item 199.
We do have up until 10:20 a.m. this morning in which to launch the shuttle Discovery on this flight. Standing by for information on the ops recorder situation, and we'll bring you more information as it becomes available. At T-minus 9 minutes in holding, this is Shuttle Launch Control.
And into the flight.
Go ahead, Mike.
Here's our status. As we polled the room, we can't see any other system other than the communication systems that, if the BFS did give us an extraneous command going uphill, might hit a system. We have manual backups for that. Payload bay doors are safe because we've got power removed from those guys. The only thing that bothers me a little bit is I don't understand why we had commands out on those MDMs, and I'd like to hear some words from your DPS. I'd like to hear some words from your DPS folks on how they feel about pressing on with this.
Okay, right now they're doing some data retrieval flight, and we're looking maybe 10 minutes here before they'll get the data retrieved in hand.
Gotcha.
So probably need to stand by here for a few minutes.
Okay. Other than that, if we were to lose that recorder, we would still be go. We just need to make ourselves feel comfortable. We understand what happened and why, and I'm not sure we're going to be able to do that.
Okay, understand. And launch director, did you copy flight?
I copied that, and flight, be advised, they're doing a discussion this on channel 161 if you can get the appropriate people over there.
Okay, thanks.
BMQC engineer.
Roger, NDD, all constraints have been lifted.
Copy.
OTC, CHCD. Go ahead. I can give you step 1023 is complete. HCDS backup and autocals and test cost competences are good. Very good, thank you.
CDR NTD.
NTD CDR, go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, we're doing some data retrieval, and it's going to take us probably another 5 to 10 minutes here to get the data, and then we're going to take a look at it. So we could be sitting here for a little bit.
Roger.
OTC, CMQC.
Go.
Roger, 882. Do you still have the fill-ins for those? Test. CMQC, let's wait to post-launch to get fill-in. Confirm it, thank you. OTC, JRBS.
OTC on 212, go ahead.
This JRBS, request permission security CNC recorders. Remainder of the count, or the remainder of the hold.
Okay, copy that. Make sure you activate them and we pick up.
Copy.
This is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 9 minutes and holding. We will be extending this hold for some time now to fully understand why this recorder did start without being commanded to start. Flight controllers, launch directors want to fully understand the situation before committing to launch.
A while, and that means at least a half hour of data review and understanding why this thing came on when it was not expected to. The effort is really to understand the source of the command and to feel good about our onboard computer and MDM configuration before we proceed. So you're going to have to bear with us for a while because it's going to take a while.
Copy. CDR, copy.
CDR copies.
That was Launch Director Bob Seek informing the flight crew on board the Orbiter Discovery of the situation here, letting them know what we're doing to try and clear the situation for launch. We do have until 10:20 a.m. this morning in which to launch Discovery. The launch team and flight controllers will be retrieving some of the data that over the last hour to try and understand how this happened and why. There will be lots of discussions over the next half hour or an hour to talk about what's being found so far and what they can compare it to based on past experience. We are keeping up with current weather forecasts at all locations, and we'll bring you any change to the status of the weather. We did get a report there were some boats moving into the area, and we do have personnel that will be moving them out of the area and directing them out of our launch path. There's nothing further at this point. We'll be announcing any change in the status, but we will remain in this hold until this situation is further is understood a little bit further. T-minus 9 minutes and holding. This is shuttle launch control.
Entity SRO, 212.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Due to the extended hold, the range is going to resend the final clear launch.
Is there something in the area?
No, sir. It's just a range safety call. They feel that the hold is just a little bit too long, and they are going to have to repole all their stations.
How long will that take?
Probably 5 minutes. So if you could give me a 5 minute heads up, I could check with you.
We may not have a 5 minute heads up. What they need to do is why don't you talk to an SRO and see what the minimum estimate or the minimum time they need to hold the station.
Oh, roger that. I'll get back to you then. Entity SRO 212.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. They're going to send the helicopter out there, and it'll take about 5 minutes to get the helicopter back into a safe area.
Okay, I copy. comes from the payloading. No, I don't have nothing wrong with the recorder, right? There's no way to know that the command...
Bob, all you were doing is really looking at your recorder data. Okay.
Another thing. Oh, on one.
Right.
We were on about 4 minutes.
I bet it was awesome, but
Just us one. Okay, we were confused. I have to pull this drawing out. Back point.
yeah, those are coming from me. Order. Order. What you're looking at over there is the data from the recorder. Okay. Here's what we saw here is that order responded to order problem. One would think some no data order. Hello, everyone, this is Bob. Bob, if you guys want to make logical.
There's really no way in knowing. We know it.
Why don't we all of it?
Go ahead, Charlie.
This is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 9 minutes and holding. We're continuing our discussions. The engineers are talking about the possibilities of why this situation occurred. They want to be sure that there will be no extraneous commands sent to any of the other systems on board the orbiter during the ascent portion of the flight or during any other portion of the flight.
Yes, sir. MPD Houston is requesting
A thorough analysis will be conducted.
and for us to track a gym sphere.
The
Break track from the gym
data retrievals are
shuttle.
continuing.
Radar at
The
least,
information is going to be reviewed so that
and I don't think we can give
officials would have some idea of how this operational recorder was started without being commanded to start. Again, officials want to be sure that any other system would not be commanded
Go ahead and release the gym.
to do something that it shouldn't be doing at a certain point in the flight. And that is the reason for concern
And on that track, now,
for this particular issue. We are continuing to monitor weather. No updates in that area. Flight crew is still on board the Orbiter Discovery. And we are remaining in this hold at T-minus 9 minutes until we get resolution of this issue. And again, Launch Director Bob Zeke has said that it could be a while before we have some resolution on this issue, and our window today extends until 10:20 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 9 minutes and holding.
I think. Point.
NTD SRO 212.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir, on that 10 minutes, you understood that it was a 10 minutes heads up.
That's a negative. I understood it to be you got from the point you said you wanted to release. Okay, you've got 10 minutes right now.
Roger, understand.
SRO to clarify. SRO engineer.
Go ahead, sir.
You have to clarify. You got 10-minute notice to be at minutes 9 minutes counting.
Roger, understand. Thank you.
LC, the one of two recorders required.
Okay, stand by.
This is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 9 minutes and holding.
Hold for launch. Say go, no go for launch. OTC?
OTC go.
TVC?
The troubleshooting so far indicates that there is a recorder problem itself and that there's no problem with the orbiter's computers.
Yes, go.
We will be starting the recorder in a normal mode just to test its response to the command.
I'll go.
STM.
STM go.
Safety console.
Safety go.
SP. CDR.
The launch team is being polled now to make sure they are ready to resume the count.
Houston flight information.
Looks like the analysis did not take as long as we had originally thought. And indications so far are that we do have a problem with the recorder and not a problem with the orbiter's computers. Concern had been that we did not want to get any extraneous commands from the orbiter's computers during the ascent portion of the flight.
Houston flight information. Houston flight information.
Weather conditions appear to be holding out at all of our landing sites today, at Kennedy, at Ben Guerir, and also at the Northrop landing site in White Sands.
Into the SPE.
Go ahead, SP.
I guess we're going to get an IPR on this, and I've already got prime board concurrence from everyone to proceed. And as soon as we get into a normal flight configuration, engineer's ready to go.
Okay, I copy. What do we have to do to get into a normal flight configuration?
Flight clinician, some commands, my understanding.
Okay, so Houston flight entity.
And entity, this is flight, we're go.
I understand. And SP, are you go?
SPE's go.
And launch director teams go for launch.
I copy. I'll conduct my poll at this time. Payload director.
Payloads are go, Bob.
Copy. Engineering director. Engineering director, launch director on 212. KSC safety and quality director.
Yeah, safety qualities go, Bob.
I copy. And Cape weather.
Roger, sir. We have no weather constraints violated, unanticipated through T0. Steady state winds for launch from 180 degrees at 12 knots, over.
I copy. And engineering director.
Engineering is go.
I copy. Ops manager, launch director.
Standby 1, Bob.
And entity flight on 212, we have a couple of words for the crew.
Roger. PTC entity.
Go ahead.
Start your recorders.
Okay.
And entity flight on 212, we got a couple of words for the crew.
Understand. Let's go ahead and get the words now.
Discovery Houston.
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, Mike, a little update for you on the weather.
Go ahead.
Okay, we're going to plan on staying with KSC 33 and using the close-in aim point. We'll continue to evaluate it against the nominal, however. Ben Guerir 36 is looking good. Weather's still nice over there, clearing 7+. The winds are about 060 at 8, gusting to 14, and we'll be using the close aim point over there as well. Zaragoza is good as an ACLS site. Right now it's down for the ceiling. It's about 5,000 feet or so. Your altimeter, just got an update. The altimeter at KSC will be 3001. And take that back. That was for Northrop altimeter. Okay, 3001 at KSC. That's correct. And Northrop came up as an AOA site. So we'll be selecting Zaragoza at ATO.
We will be resuming the launch countdown shortly.
3001, and we'll select Zaragoza at ATO.
Okay, and NTD, we're ready to go.
Understand. PVD OTC.
This PVD, go ahead.
Field the purge floor rate. How's that?
And set for launch. 1002, 3, and 4 and up performed.
Thank you. And launch director, we're standing by.
I copy.
Launch director, ops manager.
I'll go ahead.
Roger, Bob. We've completed the poll. Everyone's ready, and you have our concurrence to proceed to the launch.
I copy. Thank you. And Discovery, launch director, air to ground.
Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, well, we're going to take advantage of what looks like a good opportunity to get you on your way. So we'll make a run at it, and at this point, we'll wish you a good one.
Thank you, Bob. We'd like to tell everybody thanks for the hard work that got us ready to go, and we're anxious to get back out to the flight and tell you all about it.
Yes, sir. And NTD, launch director, you have a good proceed.
Copy. And launch team, this is the NTD. We'll pick up the count in approximately 5 seconds. PLS, pick up the count on your mark.
I copy. Clock resume on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark.
We're at T-minus 9 minutes and counting. The ground launch sequencer is now in control and will issue the commands to perform the final critical task required to put the vehicle in launch configuration. It will monitor as many as 1,000 different measurements during the final 9 minutes to make sure they do not fall out of predetermined limits.
And Houston flight, you can proceed with transmission of the SPCs.
T-minus 8 minutes, 30 seconds.
PRT OTC on here to ground 1.
Go ahead, OTC.
T-minus 8 minutes.
Essential bus for switches.
Roger, that's in order.
Pilot Hammond is now flipping switches in the orbiter's crew cabin to directly connect the 3 fuel cells to the essential power buses. Coming up on T-minus 7 minutes, 30 seconds. Mark. The orbiter crew access arm is being retracted away from the vehicle and into the launch configuration. This arm can be re-extended in just a few seconds if necessary.
NTI cell recorders are activated. Nominal.
T-minus 7 minutes. T-minus 6 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. Orbiter test conductor Zoltan Felucci will give pilot Hammond a go to perform the auxiliary power unit pre-start at the T-minus 6 minute mark.
KRPS OTC.
KRPS.
Start the AP and hydraulic slip chart recorders.
Recorder started.
And PRT OTC.
Go ahead, OTC.
Perform APU pre-start.
Roger, APU pre-start in work.
Hammond is configuring switches in the cockpit to put the APUs in the ready-to-start configuration. The auxiliary power units provide hydraulic power to the orbiter.
OTC, PLT, APU pre-start complete via 3 gray talkbacks.
You copy that, thank you.
Pilot Hammond reporting that the pre-start is complete. The activation of the auxiliary power units will come at T-minus 5 minutes, just 30 seconds from now. T-minus 5 minutes and counting.
DLS go for orbiter APU start.
PRT OTC, perform APU start.
Roger, in work.
And CDR OTC.
CDR, go.
Reconfigure heaters.
CDR, Roger. Heater reconfig is complete.
Commander Michael Coates was asked to reconfigure the orbiter's heaters for launch and reported that was complete. Also, the APUs have been activated.
APU start is complete. We have 3 good APUs.
Copy that.
T-minus 4 minutes, 20 seconds and counting. Liquid oxygen replenish has been terminated and LOX drain back has been initiated. Coming up on T-minus 4 minutes and counting.
DLS go for purge sequence 4.
A final purge sequence of the 3 main engines is underway. The valves on the main engines are being prepared for engine start. At the 1 minute point in the count, an engine ready indication will be given. A profile test of the orbiter's aero surfaces has started. Orbiter flight control surfaces are being moved through a pre-programmed pattern to verify they are ready for launch. Also at this time, the 3 main engines are being gimbaled and positioned for launch. T-minus 3 minutes, 15 seconds. We've also transferred to internal power and switched off the orbiter's ground power supply. At this point, Discovery is being powered by its onboard fuel cells.
GLS go for ET-LO2 pressurization.
The liquid oxygen tank is now being pressurized for flight. T-minus 2 minutes, 45 seconds.
PRTOTC, clear caution and warning memory. Verify no unexpected errors.
PRT, roger, and mark.
Orbiter test conductors requested that pilot Hammond clear the caution and warning memory system. Retraction of the gaseous oxygen vent hood is now underway. T-minus 2 minutes, 15 seconds. At the T-minus 2 minute mark, the flight crew will be instructed to close and lock their visors for flight. T-minus 2 minutes.
OTC, close and lock your visors and initiate O2 flow.
GLS go for ET-LH2 pressurization.
T-minus 1 minute, 50 seconds. Liquid hydrogen replenishment is being terminated and the tank is being pressurized for flight.
Down, O2's on.
Copy that.
T-minus 1 minute, 35 seconds. Less than 2 minutes away now from launch.
1 minute, 30 seconds.
Today's launch is the second flight this year and this month. It's the 39th launch for the shuttle program. Got an indication we have 3 engines ready for launch. T-minus 1 minute, 15 seconds. All systems are go for launch. T-minus 1 minute and counting. Heaters on the solid rocket booster joints are being deactivated at this time. T-minus 40 seconds. Coming up at the T-minus 31 second mark, where we have a go for auto sequence start.
GLS go for auto sequence start.
Discovery's 4 redundant computers have primary control of critical vehicle functions for the remainder of the count. T-minus 20 seconds. Sound suppression water system now being released. T-minus 10, 9, 8. We have a go for main engine start. We have engine start. 3, 2, 1. We have ignition and liftoff of Discovery on a research flight for the Department of Defense.
Roger, roll, Discovery.
Houston's now controlling. Roll maneuver is underway. Maneuver complete, placing Discovery in crew and heads down attitude and on course for a 57-degree orbit. Engines at 100% and throttling down. Engine throttles now at 70% rated thrust in order to help maintain optimum aerodynamic conditions as Discovery accelerates through the dense lower altitudes. Velocity 1,000 feet per second, altitude 200,000 feet. Correction, 24,000 feet. All systems performing well. Hydraulics, electrical systems performing well. Altitude now 33,000 feet, velocity 1,300 feet per second. Engines throttling back up.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Roger, go at throttle up.
Engines running now at 104% rated thrust, altitude 56,000 feet, velocity 2,100 feet per second. Downrange distance now 7 nautical miles. Time 1 minute 30 seconds. Our next milestone in this climb to orbit will be burnout and staging of the solid rocket boosters. Altitude 92,000 feet, velocity 3,200 feet per second. Discovery now 15 nautical miles downrange. Time 1 minute 50 seconds. All systems performing well. We have confirmation of a clean separation on time. Altitude 176,000 feet, velocity 4,300 feet per second. Discovery now 37 nautical miles downrange. All systems performing well. Standing by for a first stage performance call.
Discovery, performance nominal.
Roger, performance nominal.
All indications are that the main engines and solid rocket boosters performed right on target. Altitude now 220,000 feet, velocity 4,800 feet per second. Discovery now 53 nautical miles downrange.
Discovery, 2-engine Ben Greer.
Roger, 2-engine Ben Greer.
Discovery could now reach the primary transoceanic abort landing site with only 2 engines should one fail. All 3 engines continuing to burn well at 104%. Good hydraulics, good electrical systems. Altitude now 270,000 feet, velocity 5,500 feet per second. Discovery now 79 nautical miles downrange. Time 3 minutes 30 seconds. Discovery now about 30 seconds away from the point of no return. All systems performing well.
Discovery, negative return.
Roger, negative return.
At this point, a return to the launch site is no longer an option as Discovery continues downrange. Altitude 340,000 feet, velocity 7,700 feet per second. Discovery now 152 nautical miles downrange. At this point, any abort would call for a transoceanic abort landing at the primary site. All systems continuing to perform very well. 3 engines at 104%. Good hydraulics, good electrical systems. Altitude 358,000 feet. Velocity 8,800 feet per second.
Discovery, press to ATO, select Zaragoza.
Roger, press to ATO, select Zaragoza.
Discovery now has enough momentum to reach a safe orbit with only 2 engines should that become necessary. All 3 engines performing very solidly at 104%. Discovery now 248 nautical miles downrange. Velocity 10,000 feet.
Droop Zaragoza 109.
Roger, Droop Zaragoza 109.
Velocity 11,000 feet per second and accelerating. Altitude now 372,000 feet. Time 6 minutes. All systems performing well.
Discovery, press to MECO.
Roger, press to MECO.
Discovery, single engine Zaragoza 104.
Roger, single engine Zaragoza 104.
Discovery now has enough momentum to reach normal engine cutoff conditions with only 2 engines if necessary, and to reach the primary transoceanic abort landing site with only 1. Time 6 minutes 48 seconds. All systems performing well. Altitude now 368,000 feet. Velocity 15,000 feet per second. Downrange distance 418 nautical miles.
Discovery, single engine press 104. Discovery, single engine press 104.
Just single engine press 104.
Should 2 engines fail beyond this point, Discovery could reach a safe orbit with a remaining engine at 104%. All 3 engines continuing to burn well at 104% rated thrust. Altitude now 363,000 feet. Velocity 18,000 feet per second. Downrange distance now 532 nautical miles. Engines beginning to throttle back now to help maintain structural load limitations on the vehicle at just about 3 G-forces. Orbiter velocity now at 21,000 feet per second as Discovery continues downrange at 615 nautical miles. Main engine cutoff targets are at 8 minutes 35 seconds mission elapsed time, just about 20 seconds from now. Standing by for main engine cutoff confirmation.
Houston Discovery, Nico at 25,850.
Copy, 25,850.
Booster systems officer reports the main engine cutoff was very clean and right on time. And we have confirmation that Discovery is now free of the external tank. That separation from the fuel tank was accomplished on time.
Discovery Houston, nominal MECO, ohms 1 not required.
Roger, ohms 1 not required.
That calls an indication that the shuttle's main engines and solid rocket boosters provided adequate insertion to orbit. An ohms 1 burn to complete insertion will not be required. The next burn will be an orbital maneuvering system 2 burn to circularize the orbit of Discovery for orbit operations. Time 9 minutes 40 seconds. The results of this very nominal ascent to orbit creates orbital parameters of 136 nautical miles by 123 nautical miles. The ohms 2 burn will circularize Discovery's orbit at 140 nautical miles.
Discovery Houston, we're with you through Tidris.
Roger, Brian, reach loud and clear through Tidris.
Discovery Houston, you have a go for APUs on time.
Roger, APU's off on time.
This is Mission Control Houston following a uneventful ascent to orbit. Flight controllers have surveyed all orbiter systems and find nothing out of the ordinary. Discovery appears to be working very well, all systems running very cleanly. We're just about 23 minutes away from ignition of Discovery's twin orbital maneuvering system engines to pull up the perigee of Discovery's orbit and circularize at 140 nautical miles for orbit operations. Live telemetry from the vehicle indicates that the main propellant system dumping has been completed. At arrival on orbit, the main propulsion system is open to the vacuum of space, and any excess propellant is inerted into the vacuum. That procedure is complete. Crew on board the vehicle will begin preparing the vehicle and maneuvering to the attitude for the OMS 2 burn shortly.
Discovery Houston.
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, Mike, we're going to miss the burn here when we go LOS. And when we get out the other side, we expect to have good comm. If you've taken the BFS down, however, you may need to select manual antenna if you can't get us. And we also have a couple of switches back on A12 that we need thrown. We need the APU, tanks, fuel line, water assist, 1A, 2A, and 3A heaters auto.
Okay, Brian, we're going to get to those switches.
Okay, Mike, I understand, and you may get an alarm, and that's what those are for, so you can get those switches when you're able. And we'll pick you up on the other side. It'll be at 5-1.
Roger, we'll see you at 5-1.
This is Mission Control Houston. We've passed out of range of communications between Discovery and the ground as Discovery tracks out over the Indian Ocean and beyond the extent of the tracking and data relay satellite east. Just before losing signal from Discovery, flight controllers were able to determine, based on live telemetry from the vehicle, that Discovery was well configured for the upcoming orbital maneuvering system burn, and that the vehicle was in attitude. We're just about 50 seconds away from that burn. Again, this will be a 210 foot per second acceleration burn to raise and circularize the orbit of Discovery at 140 nautical miles. We'll not be getting signal through the TDRA system again for about 15 minutes. There's a chance for a short burst of UHF voice through the Indian Ocean Station coming up in about 3 minutes. However, there won't be any opportunity for flight controllers to look in on the OMS burn as it progresses. We're now just about 10 seconds away from the beginning of that burn. Again, flight controllers without data this time. We'll expect confirmation of a good burn, perhaps by voice from the crew through the UHF voice capability at the Indian Ocean Station, or later on when we acquire signal again through TDRS West. Just about 25 minutes into the flight, one minor system reconfiguration was called for, as it was determined that one of the fuel pump valve cooling systems on auxiliary power unit number 2 fuel pump valves was not working quite up to par, and that system was commanded off, and its backup system was configured to the automatic mode and appeared to be performing its functions as required. In addition, just prior to losing signal, it appeared the temperatures on the auxiliary power unit fuel lines were beginning to get a little bit cold, and the crew was asked to go ahead and reconfigure the heaters on those lines to provide a little thermal support. We're about a minute and a half from getting a short burst of UHF voice communications through the Indian Ocean Station. The orbital maneuvering system burn to elevate and circularize Discovery's orbit should be underway at this point. And we'll hope for a good voice confirmation of that when we hear from the crew. This is Mission Control Houston. We've lost our range with the vehicle through the Indian Ocean station and had no voice contact with the crew. We'll expect to pick up downlink telemetry and air-to-ground voice with the crew aboard Discovery in just about 8 minutes.
Discovery Houston, we're back with you on the spare.
Okay, Brian, and let me see. What antenna we got? Yeah, Brian, we got you on lower right forward antenna. Let us know if you want to go back to GPC.
Okay, Mike, we'll look at that right now. In the meantime, we just want to send up a reminder to you not to take the BFS to halt. We only want it in standby.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good reminder. And Brian, as we discussed, we're going to reconfigure to 1 G2 GPC here.
Hey, Mike, we concur with that.
Roger.
This is Mission Control Houston. We have telemetry and voice communication restored with Discovery, and flight controllers looking at onboard systems are following along as the crew works through their post-insertion checklist to set up the onboard data processing system for orbit operations. The transition to Ops 2, that's the software package that provides all of the on-orbit systems management logic as well as guidance, navigation, and control, is well underway. Guidance and flight dynamics officers are happy with the results of the OMS 2 burn. There were no residuals in the burn that produced the desired effects, placing Discovery at 138.7 nautical miles by 137.6 nautical miles.
Discovery Houston.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, Mike, when you get the BFS and standby, you can go ahead and take your antennas back to GPC, and the SM should pick it up. And the other thing is, when you get a chance, if we could have you work the MPS inert, the on-orbit MPS inert, and send the orbit ops 8-2. And we're seeing a little bit of residual in there, and we just want you to pick that up. But there's no hurry on that.
Okay, we'll get on that in just a second here.
This is Mission Control Houston. That exchange between Capcom Brian Duffy and Discovery's crew commander Mike Coates regarding detection of some residual fuel in the main propulsion system. Crew's been asked to go ahead and re-execute the evacuation procedures to evacuate any of the residual fuels from the system on orbit. Crew's continuing to work through the post-insertion procedures, which involve configuration of the onboard data processing systems, assigning functions and responsibilities to each of the general purpose computers. Following that activity, the crew will be activating the payload bus, providing power and thermal support as well as command insight to the payload support systems in the payload bay. Following that, they'll be maneuvering to the payload bay door opening attitude, activating the radiators in the doors, and then opening the payload bay doors. Assuming all goes well, that should be followed by a call from the ground that Discovery and crew will be go for orbit operations, and they'll at that point be able to begin climbing out of their launch and entry suits, drying those out, and getting squared away for the start of their first day on orbit.
And Houston Discovery, Brian, we're going to do the air log resets now.
Okay, Mike, you have a go for that. We're watching.
This is Mission Control Houston. Our next television event on NASA Select Television will be a post-launch press conference from the Kennedy Space Center beginning at 8:45 a.m. Eastern